Great. Well, of course, we have limited time, so let's just dive straight in. We are, at this period in time, such an exciting period of time, arm deep in the guts of a new album release period, gearing up for the release of your newest album, Mid-Death Crisis, out April 25th by Napalm Records. I spent a lot of time with this album last night, a lot of time building up to it today, and it is an absolute delight to listen to and experience it. And here, Wednesday 13 in 2025, where you stand right now. So, on that note, sum up what you think this record says about Wednesday 13 as you stand here in 2025.
This is the future. This is 2025. That's man, that just hearing that wrote out sounds crazy. Like it's just Wednesday 13. That's a lot of numbers, by the way. Also, Wednesday 13, 2025. It's like, what is happening? But no, this is 20 years of Wednesday 13. I was able to um, make a record that reflects my entire history. And I think I was able to incorporate a little bit of everything, I think, but mostly the best part of what I do, which is just simple, fun, leave your brain at the door, rock and roll. And I really zoned back into what I do the best. And just my last few records were a little more experimental, and this one's a
Mm.
little more, or I'd say a little, it's more back toward the first three. It has more in common with the first three than the last three.
I understand that. I understand that. But I also think it's well worth pointing out that it's still a development. It's not like you've regressed and gone back to an earlier point. This is still you now, but it's
Mhm.
just that encapsulation of everything you are to this day.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to again, and I don't want to go back to the beginning. I've learned too much from then. I've learned a lot of good tricks, and I feel like this record is a good modern take on the way I would approach that record maybe 20 years ago. I've learned a lot more. There's different things and sounds I've incorporated into my music. So this is just a good statue in the catalog that will represent where we've came so far. And this record is the first record that I couldn't pick a single right away. I like the last three songs on the record as much as the first three. And
Really? Oh.
yeah, so that's an
Well,
odd thing for me this time because I never had a record like that before.
well, how did you decide on the first single then? Who made that decision?
I think I did. Well, I definitely made the decision, but how I made the
Mm.
decision, it was just over at a period of time. I went back and forth, and I didn't necessarily pick the songs as the singles because I thought they were the best song for my fans. Whereas, for example, my the first single, "When the Devil Commands," I knew my fans would like that. I think for the most part they liked it, but I also was thinking outside of the fans who was on the outskirts, just standing in the back of the room with their arms crossed, that could go start moving their head to that beat and go, all right, I like this. I'm in. That's who I was gunning for on that first single. And it worked. I think we got a lot of new fans to check us out, and that's the whole point of doing this. I'm still out trying to win people over. And that's the whole goal for me.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, music is ever evolving. The industry is ever changing, and there's always an opportunity to collect and bring in new people to your music. Particularly, as obviously you've been around such a long time, there are plenty of younger people who may not have grown up with your music who are now still learning about it. That, I guess, is so exciting, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the oddest thing to look out now at our shows and the first three rows are teenagers. And I'm not complaining, but it's just I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting this, and it just shows that the music is timeless, and I'm very fortunate to have that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is fabulous that is there. I find it fascinating how that you described, as I said, having so much trouble not only releasing deciding what the single is, but perhaps tracks that are particularly important to you. Because having heard the full album, I picked out a couple that I think are really, really intriguing, and it got me thinking about a specific track in the album that maybe you were quite excited to see the reaction to, either because it will surprise people or it's particularly special to you. Is there one?
I think the next single, "In Misery," as the next single and music video, which will be out on March 18th. I'm excited to see this one. I think this one pulls on the heartstrings of the old fans. Anyone that really, really liked the first Wednesday 13 album and the Transylvania, the imagery and the sound, I think I delivered you a perfect song on a platter for you. Visually, I just saw the video for it last night, and we captured something really amazing on this. Like the word my lady watched it and she said it's beautiful.
Really? Well,
And
there it
we're in a
is.
and we're in a graveyard and she said it's beautiful. It is. It's
Can't.
cinema. We did something really cool here. So I think I'm really proud of that song. And I also played all the guitar on that song, like all the lead guitar on it. I played everything on it when I don't do that on the whole record. So
Mm.
as an accomplishment, I'm just overall, I think it's a really strong song and with just all the yeah. So I'm all over that song.
Your pride is clear in your voice and your excitement talking about it. I think it's an album that every time you listen to, there'll be a new favorite track. You can listen to it now and pick your new favorite track up from a fan perspective. But in 6 months' time, that might be completely different after you've sat with it for so long. I just want to throw out "Rotting Away," which is, I think, an absolute one infectious anthem beyond belief. But I also want to mention "Decapitation," which put the stupidest smile on my face at 3 in the morning last night at work. I was left with the stupidest smile on my face via that track.
I agree with you. Rotting Away was my first pick for a single. So it was one of my favorite songs on it. And Decapitation is so dumb and good. Like there's no
Mm.
other way to explain that song. It was so dumb I had to record it. And when you hear it, and when you just hear the title, you don't even you're it doesn't give it away. When you go, oh, that's what this song's about. It's
Yeah.
really quick, it's fun, and when you're done, it's like a amusement park ride. You'll want to listen to it again. As soon as you're done, go, whoopee, let's do that again. Back up to the top, down again. It's just a that song stands out, and I think that will, if I had to predict, that will be the song that fans will say this is my favorite on the road, just because it just works.
All right, all right. I look forward to revisiting that in, say, a year's time and see what actually
Yeah.
ends up really hitting the heights. But okay, let's go back a bit. It's time to follow up Horrifier, right? So, it's that time again. Maybe you're already writing and you're already inspired. The vision. What does
Mhm.
the initial vision look like? You described this at the start as being an encapsulation of everything Wednesday 13, but was that the vision to begin with?
No, not no. It really wasn't trying to do that at all. The one thing I said in the very beginning, and I said it out loud before I wrote anything. I just said it. My bassist asked me. He said, "What's the new album going to sound like? What are you going to write? Where are we going? Where are we going with this one?" And at the time when he asked me, we were getting dressed for the show, and I had my music playing. I have like a playlist. I'm always playing music, and it's literally everything from Kiss, Alice Cooper, Twisted Sister, Wasp, just on a shuffle. And it's all the classic songs everybody knows. And I don't know who was playing. It could have been Twisted Sister, and I just looked over at him and I said, I want to make a record that sounds like the stuff we listen to every night before we go on stage. I want to make a record that sounds like a blend of all this stuff. And I think that's what I'm going to try to do. So when I started writing music for this, of course, I got all my musical influences in my head, waving the flags back there. So I had those in mind. But when it came to writing the songs, actually, I made a list of all of my favorite Wednesday 13 songs that I like the most and the ones I like to play live. And I made a list of all the songs that I know the fans love, like that are the favorite Wednesday. What's the three off this album they love the most? What's the three off this? Put those songs together. And then I literally went, well, what if I write a song in that vibe? And I write a song in that vibe. And I write a song in that vibe. I write a song like, and so when people hear this record, you may go, "Oh, I like this song because it reminds me of your old song." And I go, "Well, that's the ingredients. That's what I put into the brew. I stirred it up, and that's why you hear it." So I'm giving you 12 new versions of something that may sound familiar to you. They're in that world. So that was important to do as well. And I found that kind of a easy way to write when I thought about it that way. I
Did
mean, and
you?
again, I wasn't trying to rewrite that song per se, but just something in that vibe, something in that world. 'Cause I think with every artist that we hear when they put a new record out, when you hear something, you want to hear something. Oh, that sounds like them. That reminds me of that, and that's what I'm doing here.
It is a big ask, a tough task to get your headspace in that mind get yourself in that mind frame. You're talking about looking back and going back to a lifetime ago, a different person to a degree. How much trouble
Yeah.
did you have getting in the headspace for that?
It happened naturally. I really just it flows for me that way. When I overthink it, I can't get into that space, and
Right.
I just let it happen. This record was a very surprisingly, a lot of things happened with the recording process. Like I had a really good time, and the past couple records I didn't have a great time recording, or just the last record was COVID. No one had a good time during that time. It was just not good. So this record was just revenge for me coming out of that last one. And just everything was lining up right. I had a good team, had a great recording studio, and and that makes a world of difference too. If you got to have a comfortable experience when you're recording this to get a good result. And for me, I think it shows in this recording. You can hear that I had a good time making this.
You absolutely can. In fact, so much so that I immediately framed the question around it because you can hear that you're enjoying yourself. You can hear that you're excited to move forward, reinvigorated to some degree, enjoying the thrill that comes with flowing creativity. So, just what was so much fun about writing this album?
Well, we had the summer off, so I basically had like the whole month of July down the street from my house here, and I would just go in every day at like 11 o'clock, and we would record for like 12 or 13 hours. We'd go in 11 in the morning, and we would come out like 2 in the morning, that night, and um, it was like summer camp. I had my producer Alex Kane is a good friend. The band, we had a good time. Every day we'd come in with our backpacks, we'd go into the studio, we'd unpack our lunch, and we'd sit there and we would just talk about music, talk about our music, talk about music that we love, and then we're recording and we'd play something, and then our producer would go, "Oh, that reminded me of Kiss or Alice Cooper," and we'd start talking about Alice Cooper for 30 minutes, and so it was a fun time hanging with my friends. It was a fun time recording. And I just haven't had that camaraderie with a group of dudes in a long time. And that means a lot. Having a good team around you gives you good results.
But did how did you get focused then? Because of course that's great. You're hanging, you're having fun, and because of that, the creativity is flowing. But then you have to do the work as well. So what about those days when you need to lock in and just focus on doing the album?
I knew what I wanted, and I knew it pretty quick. And I can get focused and get on anything super quick. Like I'm a early riser. I don't live on rock and roll hours. I'm up at usually 5 in the morning every day. I get up, and so before I would go into the studio, I was up. Say I went to the studio at 11 a.m. every day. I'm up at 5 a.m. So I'm preparing that morning everything to go into the studio. I have a list mentally in my head what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with this song and I'm going to knock this out and blah, 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 all the way down the list. So I'm my own drill sergeant in my head. I kick my own ass when it comes to getting focused, and I do that. I do that to myself. So uh, I never. I'm not saying never, but I didn't have a problem being on track and on focus with this album. It happened naturally, and it was just like creating itself.
Well, it's fabulous to hear. We don't want to hear about problems. We don't want to hear about things that you struggled with. We want to hear that it was a joyous experience for you. And of course, the end result speaks for itself. But inevitably, there will have been some challenges, right? Potentially either in the writing process, from the recording process, that tested you in ways maybe you didn't expect. Can you point out any that particularly were challenges?
I don't know. There was nothing that frustrated me. I didn't have anything that made me go, fuck, like I can't get this done on the everything that we tried, we accomplished. And there were things that we did that I didn't even think we would accomplish, and it just happened. So it was just I don't know. I really feel like the rock and roll gods were shining down on us, and we had no trouble this time. I can't think of any struggle in the studio. My voice was good every day, and I would sing all day long, and I had no problem. So um, I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't.
No, I'm more than happy to hear that. I feel like such a major part of it, as well as, of course, Horrifier being the last record, and that was such a unique period in time, a unique album that will live in long in history because it is an incredible album because of when it came out and what it was based around and so on. Were you actively, particularly with this new album, were you actively conscious of? Look, I do not want to go back to that place that was Horrifier. Obviously, the world has changed, so it wouldn't be quite that
Right.
way anyway.
Yeah, I that was the one thing I knew for certain very beginning before anything was that I did not want to make Horrifier Part Two or be in that mindset because I came out of COVID. I wasn't in a good place, and since then I've repaired myself and I feel better than I felt in a very long time. So this record is like it's revenge for me.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just to see the difference in the everything mentally, physically, sonically. I'm just um, this is a triumph for me. This is a big thing. So and every record that I've done is a period of my life, and I don't
Mm.
dislike a record. I dislike periods of time, and sometimes those records reflect those times, and they get kind of lumped into that, you know. Uh, but this record is like I said, like, it couldn't be more opposite of that last album, and just in every aspect.
You're growing as a person, as an artist, every single day, and it's fabulous that you're obviously as well embracing the past as well, which is why we have what we have now. But this ties into as well a hardcore few years for you. You know, we go back to the immense success of Horrifier, the tours, the Murderdolls reunion shows, and so much more. And here we are, less than 2 months away from the release of a new album. Kind of feels like you never stop. I have to ask, is burnout ever a possibility for Wednesday 13?
Yes, I've absolutely been burned out before, but recently I don't know, staying busy, doing all these things, it keeps me going. It may sound like a lot and seem like a lot, and it is, but I'm enjoying it. It doesn't turn into a job for me. I'm enjoying every bit of this. I'm counting the days till we go on tour. Um, I just I enjoy doing this. I didn't know if I would like doing this at this late in the game, but I feel like I know what I'm doing now better than I did years ago. I can just it takes time uh, with people to understand what you're doing and learn how to operate it correctly, and just things are good these days. And but again, along the way, all the struggles and everything has have paved the way, and I wouldn't change any of that because some of the bad stuff has made me who I am,
Of
you know.
course, of course. Is it fair to say you know yourself? You know what makes you happy now?
I think I do, or at least a little better at understanding what makes me happy now. And but I do know that music is the one thing that consistently has never failed me.
Well said, well said. We are running out of time, so I've just got a couple more for you, and I kind of want to pivot a little bit now because we are a horror website as well. Our entity exists in horror as much as it does music. So, from a horror perspective, what gives you personally, you, thrills and chills these days?
Thrills and chills these days.
Mm.
You know, I guess it all comes back where I grew up, in North Carolina. That being out in the woods in the country, uh, that'll never not be scary. Looking out into the woods when I was a little kid and just seeing just this world that could be full of monsters and boogeymen and things that go bump in the night. And that's still terrifying. I was literally just thinking about that the other day, like just how scary that was as a kid. And I'll never lose sight of that. So those are always the little, and I think that's just because of the way I was brought up. It's nothing really to do with movies necessarily, but the idea of the being alone in the woods at night is a terrifying thing.
There's nothing quite like the imagination of a child. What a child's imagination can conjure up, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, it's terrible, and especially this brain.
Okay, it's a late night horror movie marathon curated and hosted by you. If you can picture that in your mind and what that would look like, a classic one. Five
Yeah.
films that define you. Five films define you across the length and breadth of your life and career. What would they be?
Oh, all right. I
Hmm.
got to the Chainsaw Massacre one in there. That would be that's just a staple. That is the family in my, that will always be the number one family of all families. And then The Simpsons would be second. Uh, so you got that. Return of the Living Dead. That's another one of my favorite, probably my favorite zombie movie. It's a dark comedy, as they call it. And it also features one of my favorite animals, the half dog prop,
Of
which
course.
uh which I've turned into a pillow here at my home. So you got that, Dawn of the Dead, so another close zombie movie in my mind, a not funny zombie movie. So you go from funny to not funny. So Dawn of the Dead. Then I would take probably Phantasm. That's another bizarre movie that still I don't know if it makes sense to me, but I love it. Uh, and then I would probably top it off with, and it's got to be horror, or can I throw in one for good measure because it's still got guns ablazing? I would have to throw in Rambo because that
Ah,
that explains me. Because before I wanted to be a rock star, I thought I wanted to be Rambo, if you can imagine
yeah.
that.
Different direction in life. Who knows in a parallel world what that version of Wednesday 13 looks like.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't be that, so I just wrote a song about it. So my Rambo song will have to suffice for that.
Big up Return of the Living Dead. That inspired us. That's actually in our website title, The Brains Part. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's a tattoo I have on my arm, directly
Oh,
the
great.
cover
There
of
you
the
go.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the first song on the album, To Cease and Desist, is all that's all Return of the Living Dead. I say send more paramedics in that song.
Yeah. There
So
it is. All right, last but not least, the Duke of Spook. It's a title you have earned, and it rings as true now as ever. Such a title obviously comes with expectation, demand, yet you consistently meet them. Wednesday 13 is an icon in so many people's eyes, and that can't be understated. So, my question is this: how does that make you feel these days, and what does it mean to see for you to see people all over the world continue to resonate with your music?
it's just I don't know if I can explain the feeling. It's an accomplishment. I don't measure these things in awards or money or anything, but just knowing that people acknowledge what I do and I'm known in that world is there's not a lot of people that have focused on what I do as long as I've done it, and this is my thing, and so just getting some notoriety of that around the world where I'm able to travel and tour and do this for a living is I'm living my dream. So I thank my fans for allowing me to do this.
Long may that dream continue to grow and blossom, and it certainly is going to be helped by Mid-Death Crisis out April 25th via Napalm Records. Wednesday, you give me 25 minutes of your time. I massively appreciate it. Best of luck for the release. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.